The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as I watched my mother take the stage. Even from across the elaborately decorated ballroom, I could see that familiar gleam in her eye, the one that always preceded something cruel wrapped in a smile. My name is Angela, and I've spent 38 years being the family disappointment. You'd think I'd be used to it by now, but something about tonight felt different. Maybe it was because I'd secretly funded this entire retirement extravaganza. Or perhaps it was the weight of the villa documents burning a hole in my purse. "Laura, darling," my mother's voice rang out through the microphone, "stand up and let everyone see you." My sister rose gracefully, her designer dress catching the light. My firstborn, professor at 35, department chair by 40, the pride of any mother's heart. I took another sip of champagne, forcing myself to maintain my pleasant expression. The room was packed with my mother's former colleagues, all of them nodding approvingly at Laura's accomplishments. And then there's Angela. My mother's pause was theatrical. Well, she does something with computers, I believe? Social media influencing? She waved her hand dismissively, a reminder that not all children reach their potential. Polite laughter rippled through the crowd. Next to me, Ryder, my attorney, tensed. "Don't," he whispered. "I'm fine," I murmured back, but my fingers were white around the stem of my glass. Patricia, my mother's best friend, touched my arm. "Oh, Beatrice is just being Beatrice. You know how she gets after a few glasses of wine." I did know. I knew exactly how my mother got, just as I knew the precise cost of the Spanish villa she was bragging about to her guests, the villa she thought was a miracle of her prudent saving, not knowing it was bought with profits from my little internet business, the one she couldn't be bothered to understand. "A toast," my mother raised her glass, "to retirement, to success, and to living your best life." She looked directly at me as she added, "Whatever that means to you." The crowd echoed her toast. I lifted my glass mechanically, watching Laura rush to embrace our mother as everyone applauded. "You okay?" Ryder asked quietly. "Remember those ownership transfer papers you prepared?" I kept my voice low, my eyes fixed on my mother's beaming face. "The ones I was going to present tonight? The villa gift? Yes." "Shred them." He turned to look at me fully. "Angela. In fact," I continued, my voice steady despite the ice forming in my chest, "I want you to prepare something else. Call her tomorrow. Let her know there's been a misunderstanding about the property ownership." "You're sure about this?" I watched my mother accept another glass of champagne, laughing as she told someone how she'd manifested her dream retirement home. The same home I'd spent a year secretly arranging, hoping it would finally make her see me. "Mom," Laura called out, "Angela's leaving already?" I hadn't realized I'd started walking toward the exit. Turning back, I gave them my brightest smile. "Early meeting tomorrow. You know how it is with those silly internet things." My mother's dismissive wave was as familiar as breathing. "Yes, yes, dear, do what you must." As I reached the door, I heard Patricia say, "Really, Beatrice, you could be a little kinder." "Kind?" My mother's voice carried. "I'm being realistic. One daughter is a respected academic. The other plays on Facebook all day. What would you have me say?" I stepped into the cool night air, my hands steady as I texted Ryder, "Make the call first thing tomorrow. Let's see how realistic she feels about living in my villa." My phone buzzed with his response. Revenge isn't always sweet. But as I slid into my car, watching the party continue through the venue's windows, I smiled. They'd spent years treating me like I was invisible, insignificant, barely worth acknowledging. Now they'd learn what it meant to be truly seen. Because while my mother toasted to success inside, she had no idea she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. And unlike her, when I decided to teach someone a lesson, I made sure it stuck. I started the engine, the familiar purr matching the dangerous rhythm of my heart. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, they'd learn that the daughter they couldn't be bothered to understand had become someone they couldn't afford to ignore. And I was going to enjoy every second of it. Tell me again why we set up the shell company, Ryder said, spreading documents across my home office desk the morning after the party. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the careful paper trail we'd created over the past year. Because my mother would rather live in a cardboard box than accept direct help from me. I pulled up the villa's photos on my laptop. This way, she thought she was getting an incredible deal through some anonymous investment group. And you funded the whole thing? Every penny. I clicked through images of the Mediterranean paradise. 6 bedrooms, private pool, olive grove, currently valued at just over 2 million euros. Ryder whistled. That's one expensive way to try winning maternal approval. I corrected, closing the laptop. Now it's one expensive way to teach her about consequences. My phone buzzed. Laura calling. I declined it. She's tried 4 times since last night, I told Ryder. Probably wants to apologize for Mom's behavior. Again. And you're sure about this? Ryder leaned back in his chair. Once I make this call, there's no taking it back. I walked to the window, watching a gardener tend to my roses below. Do you know what she said when my company hit its first million in revenue? Well, I suppose someone has to sell snake oil to desperate people. Ouch. Meanwhile, she borrowed $60,000 from me last year for Laura's emergency. Never asked where I got it. Never thanked me properly. I turned back to face him. Make the call. Ryder pulled out his phone and put it on speaker. The line rang 3 times before my mother answered. Hello? She sounded cheerful, probably still riding high from her party. Mrs. Shaw, this is Robert Ryder from Kingston & Associates Legal Services. I'm calling regarding the Villa Beatrice property in Spain. I heard ice cubes clink in what was probably her morning mimosa. Oh yes, isn't it wonderful? I was just telling my friends about my retirement paradise. There seems to be a significant misunderstanding regarding ownership. Ryder's voice was professionally neutral. According to our records, you're currently occupying the property under a temporary arrangement. The actual owner is preparing to exercise their rights. Silence. Then, I don't understand. The investment group said Aurora Investments was acting as an intermediary. The property's true owner is now ready to take possession or negotiate terms. The ice cubes clinked again, harder this time. This is absurd. I have papers. Somewhere. I made all the payments. The payments were rental fees, ma'am. Significantly below market rate, I might add. If you'd like to continue occupying the property, the owner is willing to discuss a formal lease agreement at current market value. But who owns it then? Her voice had lost its musical quality. Who's doing this? Ryder looked at me. I nodded. The property belongs to Ms. Angela Shaw. The mimosa glass shattered. I could hear Patricia in the background. Beatrice? What's wrong? This is a mistake, my mother said, her voice shaking. My daughter, Angela she couldn't possibly. I assure you, Mrs. Shaw, there's no mistake. Ms. Shaw has owned the property through Aurora Investments for the past year. She's prepared to discuss terms if you wish to remain as a tenant. Otherwise, you'll need to vacate within 30 days. My mother's breathing had become audible. Put her on the phone. I know she's there. I'm merely the legal representative. Angela! She was shouting now. How dare you? After everything I've done for you. I picked up my coffee, taking a slow sip before speaking. Everything you've done for me? Like last night's greatest hits compilation of my failures? This is how you repay my honesty? By trying to make me homeless? Homeless? I laughed. You have a perfectly good house back home. The villa was always mine. I just let you believe otherwise. Consider it a year-long lesson in gratitude. You manipulative little... Careful, Mom. Your tenant application is under review. Might want to work on that attitude. Patricia's voice came through clearer. Beatrice, what's happening? What's happening? I said loudly enough for both to hear. is that the invisible daughter just became very, very visible. Ryder will send over the lease terms this afternoon. Market rate is 12,000 euros monthly. I expect the first payment by Friday. I can't possibly. Then start packing. Oh, and Mom, next time you want to toast to success, make sure you know where it actually comes from. I nodded to Ryder, who ended the call. For a moment, we sat in silence. That, he finally said, was ice cold. No. I pulled up my banking app, transferring the first month's rent to Laura's account. That was just the warm-up. Call my sister's university tomorrow. I think they'll be very interested in some research irregularities I've discovered. Ryder gathered his papers. You're going to burn every bridge, aren't you? I smiled, thinking of all the times I'd been told I wasn't good enough. Can't burn what was never really there. Now let's talk about what else Aurora Investments might want to acquire. The coffee shop was nearly empty when Mo slid into the seat across from me, his familiar cologne bringing back memories of boardroom battles and late-night strategy sessions. 3 years since our professional split, and he still hadn't lost that knowing smirk. You look exactly like someone who just dropped a nuclear bomb on their family, he said, setting down 2 espressos. I saw the party video Patricia posted. Since when do you follow Patricia? Since she tagged your mother raving about some Spanish villa. Funny thing about that villa, he raised an eyebrow. If you're here to lecture me, I'm here because someone from your sister's university called asking about copyright verification for your wellness programs. He pushed 1 espresso toward me. Specifically, they wanted to know if certain research citations in recent academic papers matched our original content. I sat up straighter. What did you tell them? That I'd need to check our records, but we both know Laura's been lifting content from your program studies for years. She just reworded it for academic journals. My phone buzzed. Another text from Laura. We need to talk. Please. How long have you known? I asked Mo. Remember that psychology paper she published last year? The one about digital community impact on mental health outcomes? That was basically your pilot program data with fancy words. I pulled up Laura's academic profile on my laptop, scanning her publication history. Send me everything you have, every similarity, every borrowed conclusion. Already did. Check your email. Mo leaned back, studying my face. You're really doing this, huh? Taking them all down? They took me down for years. My turn. The bell above the coffee shop door chimed. Patricia walked in, freezing when she saw me. She'd clearly been crying. Angela, thank goodness! She hurried over, makeup slightly smeared. Your mother is beside herself. You have to understand, she didn't mean to publicly humiliate me, to dismiss my entire career, to make me feel worthless at her own party. I closed my laptop. Sit down, Patricia. Let's talk about what she meant. She sank into a chair, clutching her designer handbag. She's under so much stress. The things she said, it was the wine talking. The wine's been talking for 38 years? Mo snorted into his coffee. You've always been so sensitive, Patricia tried. Beatrice just wants what's best for you. She worries about your alternative lifestyle choices. My alternative lifestyle paid for her lifestyle. I pulled out my phone, showing her my company's latest quarterly report. See that number? That's what my little internet business made in 3 months. How's Laura's department funding looking these days? Patricia's eyes widened at the figures. I had no idea. No one did, because it was easier to dismiss me than understand me. I stood up, gathering my things. Tell my mother she has 3 days to sign the lease or vacate. And Patricia, maybe reconsider who you're really friends with. Outside, Mo fell into step beside me. Your father called me yesterday. I stopped walking. Griffin, why? Said he needed to talk to you, something important. Mo handed me a business card with an address scribbled on the back. He's at O'Malley's. Been there since the party. Let him drink. He said it's about your birth certificate. A chill ran through me despite the warm day. What about it? wouldn't say, just that you need to know the truth before you go nuclear. Mo touched my arm gently. Whatever you're planning with Laura's research, maybe hear him out first. I stared at the address, remembering the last time I'd seen Griffin. He'd been sitting alone at my college graduation after my mother and Laura left early for some academic dinner. He'd looked like he wanted to say something then, too. My phone buzzed again. Laura, they're investigating my work. Please call me. Fine, I said to Mo. I'll talk to Griffin. But first, I need you to send me every single piece of documentation showing when our research was published. Every timestamp, every copyright registration. Already done. But Angela? He waited until I met his eyes. Remember what I taught you about revenge? That it's best served cold? That it often burns the hand that serves it. I thought of my mother's face when Ryder made that call, of Laura's increasing panic, of Patricia's mascara-stained cheeks. Maybe some things are worth burning for. Mo shook his head but didn't argue. As he walked away, I looked at Griffin's address again. O'Malley's was a dive bar where he used to take me for root beer floats when I was little, before my mother decided I needed to learn discipline. I ordered a rideshare, my mind racing. What could possibly be wrong with my birth certificate? And why had Griffin waited until now to tell me? Only one way to find out. I texted Laura back. Busy right now, but don't worry. Truth always comes out eventually. Then I headed to O'Malley's, where my father was waiting with what I suspected would be yet another family secret ready to explode. The doorbell rang just as I was reviewing Mo's research documentation. Laura stood on my doorstep, looking nothing like the polished academic from the retirement party. Her mascara was smudged, her designer blazer wrinkled. "You have to stop this," she said, pushing past me into the house. "Stop what? The villa thing? Or the university inquiry into your research methods?" I closed the door slowly. "You'll have to be more specific." "Both. All of it." She paced my living room, heels clicking against hardwood. "Do you have any idea what you're doing to Mom?" "Funny, I don't remember you asking that question when she was destroying me at the party." Laura stopped pacing. "That's different. You know how she is." "Yes, I do. Just like I know how you are." I opened my laptop, turning it to face her. "Want to explain why your groundbreaking paper on digital wellness communities matches my company's research data point for point?" The color drained from her face. "I can explain the timestamps, the methodology, the conclusions that earned you that department chair position." I clicked through the documents. "You didn't even bother changing the participant quotes. You don't understand the pressure I'm under." She sank onto my couch. "The university expects publications. Original research takes years. So you stole mine. Borrowed from my own sister." She leaned forward. "Angela, please, if this gets out, I'll lose everything." I thought of Christmas 3 years ago, when she sat silently while our mother mocked my business in front of the entire family. Like I lost my dignity every time you let them tear me down? That's not fair. No? I pulled up an old video on my phone. Laura at that Christmas dinner, laughing as our mother called my work pseudoscience for the Instagram generation. Seems pretty fair to me. "Are you going to destroy me?" Her voice cracked. "Is that what this is about? Why would I do that to the family's pride and joy?" I smiled coldly. "I'm just letting the truth speak for itself, like how you spoke about my work to your academic friends. I was wrong, okay? I was jealous." She wiped her eyes. "You made it look so easy, building your empire, making millions, while I was drowning in student debt and academic politics." "Easy?" I laughed. "I worked 80-hour weeks for years, developed programs that actually helped people, created genuine research that you then stole because you were too lazy to do your own." The university called this morning. She pulled out her phone, showing me the email. "They're launching a formal investigation." "Good. Angela, please, I'll do anything. She reached for my hand. I pulled away. I'll tell Mom the truth about the villa, about your success, about everything. Too late. I walked to the window, watching the sunset paint the sky blood red. You know what the worst part was? I would have helped you. If you'd asked, I would have collaborated, published together, shared the credit. I know that now. But you chose to steal instead, to let them keep believing I was worthless. I turned back to her. Actions have consequences, Laura. You taught me that, remember? When you told Mom about my first business failure? She flinched. We were kids. I was 24, and that investment was everything I had. But you couldn't stand that I might succeed without a degree. I closed my laptop. The university will find what they find. I suggest you start updating your resume. You're really going to do this? Destroy your own sister? No, Laura. You destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure everyone sees it. Her phone buzzed. Our mother calling. Laura stared at the screen, then at me. She's drinking again, talking about selling her house to keep the villa. Not my problem. What happened to you? She stood, gathering her things. You used to be kind. Kindness died 1,000 small deaths in this family. Death by 1,000 cuts, remember? From your dissertation on emotional trauma? I opened the front door. Oh, wait, that was my research too. She paused in the doorway. Mom was right about one thing. You have changed. No, I just stopped pretending. Give Mom my best. Tell her the lease terms are non-negotiable. After she left, I poured myself a whiskey and called Ryder. How long until the university makes their findings public? Given the evidence, a week, maybe 2. Laura's career in academia is over. I swirled the amber liquid, watching it catch the last rays of sunlight. Good. What's next? Your father's still trying to reach you. I thought of the birth certificate Mo mentioned, of Griffin waiting at O'Malley's with some truth he thought might change everything. Let him wait, I said, but something in my gut twisted. I'm not done with the main event yet. And what's that? I smiled, thinking of the document Ryder had helped me prepare. How do you think Mom will react when she learns the villa's being sold? To a lovely family who wants immediate occupancy? The silence on the other end was heavy. Finally, Ryder said, You really want to make her homeless? No, I replied, finishing my whiskey. I want to make her understand what it feels like to lose everything you thought was yours. She's drinking wine by the pool right now, Patricia said, barging into my office without knocking, talking about how she manifested that villa through positive thinking. She still doesn't believe it's really yours. I didn't look up from my computer. Security let you in? I told them I was your aunt. She dropped into the chair across from my desk. Angela, this has gone far enough. First the villa, then Laura's career. When does it end? When they understand. I finally met her eyes, or when there's nothing left to take, whichever comes first. Beatrice took an ice bath in hell when she got that call. Patricia leaned forward. I've never seen her like that, shaking, crying. She kept saying there must be a mistake. Like the mistake of humiliating me at her retirement party. That was unfortunate. Unfortunate? I pulled up a video on my monitor, turning it so she could see. Watch this. The screen showed my mother at a dinner party 6 months ago, wine glass in hand. Angela, she was saying to someone off camera, oh, she sells crystals or something online. We try not to discuss it at family gatherings. Patricia shifted uncomfortably. We all say things we don't mean. Here's another. I clicked to a different video. My mother at a school reunion. Laura's the successful one. Angela's still finding herself. You know how some children just never quite measure up? Stop. One more. Click. Christmas dinner. At least Laura gives me something to be proud of. Angela? Well, we keep hoping she'll grow out of this internet phase. I closed the laptop. I have dozens more, years of them. Every dismissal, every subtle dig, every time she made sure people knew I wasn't good enough. And this is your revenge? Making her homeless? She's not homeless. She has a house. She just can't keep my villa. Patricia's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then back at me. Laura's university just announced a formal investigation into academic misconduct. It's on their website. Right on schedule. My God! Patricia stood up, pacing. You're systematically destroying them. No, I'm just pulling back the curtain. Everything falling apart? They did that themselves. What do you want? She stopped pacing. Money? Public apology? What would make this end? I thought about it. Remember when I was 16? When I won that entrepreneurship competition? Patricia nodded slowly. Mom told everyone I cheated, said I must have stolen the business plan because Angela isn't capable of that kind of work. Do you know what that business plan was? No, the first version of my current company, the one that made me a millionaire by 30. I stood up, walking to the window. She killed my dream that day, made me rebuild in secret under a different name, because anything with Angela attached wasn't worth believing in. She didn't know. She didn't want to know. I turned back. And now? Now she'll know everything. How her precious villa came from my worthless internet business. How her perfect daughter built her career on stolen work. How every comfort she's enjoyed lately came from the daughter she couldn't be bothered to understand. Patricia's phone buzzed again. She read the message and went pale. Laura just resigned from the university, effective immediately. Like I said, right on schedule. Please, Patricia reached for my hand. Tell me what it would take to stop this. Stop what? The truth? That's the funny thing about karma, Patricia. Once it starts rolling, it takes on a life of its own. She withdrew her hand. You've changed. No, I've just stopped pretending. Like you're pretending you're here because you care about my mother. I smiled. You're here because you're afraid you backed the wrong horse. Afraid of what else I might know about everyone's careful lies. Patricia gathered her purse with shaking hands. You've become cruel. I learned from the best. Tell my mother she has 48 hours to clear out of the villa. The new owners want to start renovations next week. At the door, Patricia paused. Your father's been asking for you. Says it's important. It always is. After she left, I called Ryder. How's the sale proceeding? Paperwork's ready. But Angela... Griffin came to my office. He had your birth certificate. My hand tightened on the phone. And? There's something you need to see. Something that might explain why your mother always treated you differently. I thought of Griffin waiting at O'Malley's, of Laura's desperate visit, of Patricia's warnings. For the first time, a sliver of doubt crept in. Whatever it is, I said, it better be good, because right now I'm rather enjoying watching everything burn. But even as I said it, I felt the first cold fingers of uncertainty wrap around my heart. What truth could be so important that Griffin would break decades of silence to reveal it? O'Malley's hadn't changed in 20 years. Same neon beer signs, same scratched wooden bar, same smell of stale peanuts and lost dreams. Griffin sat in our old booth, nursing what looked like whiskey, neat. Thought you'd never come, he said as I slid into the seat across from him. He looked older than at the retirement party, more worn. I've been busy. Destroying your mother's life? Yeah, I heard. He pushed a manila envelope across the table. Before you finish burning everything down, you should see this. I left the envelope untouched. If this is some attempt to make me feel guilty, it's your birth certificate, the real one. The bartender approached. I ordered a whiskey, waiting until he walked away before asking, What do you mean, the real one? Griffin took a long drink. Your mother, she had an affair. before we got married. The man was a visiting professor at her school. When she found out she was pregnant, she came to me. We rushed the wedding, pretended everything was fine. The whiskey arrived. I downed half of it in one gulp. "You're not my father." "No." He opened the envelope, sliding out a faded document. "But I loved you like you were. Still do." My hands shook as I read the certificate. Mother's name, Beatrice. Father's name, James Morrison. "She hated that you looked like him," Griffin continued. "Same eyes, same way of seeing through people's bullshit. Every time you questioned her, challenged her, it reminded her of him." "Where is he now?" "Dead. Car accident when you were 2. Griffin's voice softened. "Your mother made me promise never to tell you. Said it would destroy the family image." I laughed bitterly. "The family image, of course. That's why she pushed Laura so hard. Perfect daughter, perfect grades, perfect life, no messy secrets." "And me?" My voice cracked. "I was just the living reminder of her shame. You were the truth she couldn't face." He reached for my hand. I let him take it. "Every success you had scared her, made her worry you'd somehow find out, somehow connect the dots. So she tore me down instead, made sure I'd never look too closely at anything." "Angela," Griffin squeezed my hand. "I should have told you sooner, should have stood up to her. But by the time I found my courage, you'd already learned to stop needing anyone." My phone buzzed. A text from Mo. "University announcement going viral. Laura's trending on academic Twitter." "Funny thing is," I said, pulling my hand away, "this changes nothing. If anything, it makes everything clearer. Every dismissal, every criticism, every time she made me feel worthless, it was never about me. It was about her guilt." "What are you going to do?" I finished my whiskey. "Exactly what I planned. The villa sells next week. Laura's career is over. And Mother? She gets to learn what it feels like when carefully constructed lies fall apart." "You're better than this." "No." I stood up. "I'm exactly what she made me. The daughter who learned to turn shame into power." Griffin looked suddenly older. "James would have been proud of your success. But this revenge, he'd see it as beneath you." "Well, we'll never know, will we? Because Mother's lies took that choice away too." My phone buzzed again. "Laura, you think you've won. I wasn't the only one lying. Ask Mom about James Morrison." I showed Griffin the text. "Looks like Sister Dearest knew too. Laura found out last year, used it to guarantee Mom's support during some academic review." He sighed. "Like mother, like daughter. And now the truth comes out anyway." I gathered my things. "Thank you for telling me. It doesn't change anything, but thank you." "Angela." Griffin's voice stopped me. "Your mother's at the villa right now, drinking, making plans to fight the sale. Maybe it's time everyone stopped lying." I thought about my mother by that pool, sipping wine, still believing she could manifest her way out of consequences, still trying to control the narrative. "You're right," I said. "No more lies." Outside, I called Ryder. Book me a flight to Spain tomorrow." "Going to see your mother?" "Going to have an overdue conversation about truth, lies, and a man named James Morrison." "The professor? How did you—" "Doesn't matter. What matters is that Mother's about to learn that karma doesn't just reveal secrets. It demands payment for them." As I hung up, another text from Laura arrived. "Mom's not well. Please stop this." I typed back. "Funny how truth feels like revenge when you've lived so long with lies?" Then I booked my flight, packed a bag, and prepared for what would likely be the final act in our family's long-running drama of secrets and shame. Because sometimes the only way to end a story is to burn the book it's written in. The Spanish sun was setting when I found my mother by the villa's pool, surrounded by empty wine bottles and crumpled papers, printouts of Laura's academic disgrace, I assumed. I wondered when you'd show up, she said without looking at me. Come to watch your handiwork in person? Actually, I came to talk about James Morrison. The wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the terrace tiles. For a long moment, the only sound was the gentle lapping of pool water. Who told you? Her voice was barely a whisper. Does it matter? Griffin? Laura? The truth has a way of surfacing. I sat in the chair opposite her. Like mother, like daughter, right? Both of us hiding behind fake names, pretending to be something we're not. She finally looked at me, her makeup streaked with tears. You have no idea what it's like to live with shame, to hide who you really are. I laughed. Mother, I learned from the best. You were so afraid I'd discover my real father that you spent decades making sure I'd never feel worthy enough to look. It wasn't like that. No? Then explain it to me. Explain why you needed to break me down at every turn. Why Laura's mediocrity was better than my success. Why my father's name is a scar you've been hiding for 40 years. She reached for another wine bottle. I moved it away. He was brilliant, she said finally. James, brilliant and reckless and everything your father, everything Griffin wasn't. When I got pregnant, he wanted to marry me, said we'd be extraordinary together. What happened? Reality happened. My parents, my position at the school, the scandal it would cause. She closed her eyes. Griffin offered to marry me quickly, to give the baby, you, his name. It was the sensible choice. And James? Took a position at another university, said he'd wait for me to change my mind. Her laugh was hollow. Then the accident, and suddenly all my choices were permanent. So you punished me for them. I didn't. She stopped, looking around the villa. Maybe I did. Every time you succeeded on your own terms, every time you refused to fit into the life I'd chosen, it reminded me of him, of what I gave up. And Laura was safe, predictable, everything I'd forced myself to become. She met my eyes, until you exposed her too. She exposed herself. I just stopped covering for her. My phone buzzed, a text from the villa's buyers confirming next week's closing date. You're really selling it? She asked. To a lovely family with 3 kids. They want to run it as a bed and breakfast. And me? You have a house back home. The one you bought with my money, remember? The money from my worthless internet business? She flinched. I was wrong about everything. Is that what you want to hear? What I want? I stood up, walking to the pool's edge. I wanted a mother who could see me, who could love me without making me pay for her regrets, who could be proud of what I built instead of afraid it might reveal her secrets. Angela, the villa sells next week. You can stay until then at market rate. After that, you'll need to find somewhere else to hide from your truths. She struggled to her feet. You've become cruel. No, Mother. I've become honest. There's a difference. I turned to face her. Laura's career is over because she chose lies over work. Your retirement paradise is gone because you chose appearance over truth. And me? I'm done choosing your approval over my reality. I'm still your mother. Are you? Or are you just the woman who spent my whole life punishing me for reminding her of the man she really loved? The words hit her like physical blows. She staggered, catching herself on a chair. The lease agreement is on the kitchen counter, I said. Sign it or don't. Either way, I'm done playing by your rules. As I reached the terrace door, she called out, He would have loved you, you know. James, he would have been so proud of your fire. I paused. Shame will never know. One more thing you took from both of us. Inside, I found the lease agreement where I'd left it, unsigned. Next to it was a photo I hadn't seen before, a young woman with my eyes, smiling at a man I'd never meet. My phone buzzed again. Mo. You okay? I texted back. Getting there. Truth hurts less than lies. Through the window, I could see my mother still standing by the pool, silhouetted against the dying sun. For a moment, I saw her as she must have been 40 years ago, young, scared, choosing safety over love. But I wasn't her, and it was time everyone knew it. I left the photo on the counter, walked out the front door, and didn't look back. Let her keep her memories. I had a future to build, one without shame, without secrets, and finally, without her shadow hanging over every success. The email from the Spanish realtor arrived during my morning coffee. Villa sold, keys handed over, final payment transferred. I closed my laptop and looked around my home office, now stripped of the careful paper trail that had mapped my revenge. In its place sat a single cardboard box, papers Griffin had brought over, fragments of a life I never knew I had. My phone rang. Mo. "Did you see the local paper?" he asked without preamble. "Your mother moved into that small apartment complex on Pine Street. The one next to the discount grocery store?" I couldn't help smiling. That must be killing her. "Laura's teaching high school science in Ohio." He paused. "And Patricia's been asking about investing in our company." "Of course she has." I picked up a photograph from the box. James Morrison at his desk, grading papers, my eyes in his face. Let her wait. "You don't sound as satisfied as I expected." Before I could answer, my doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I saw Griffin standing there, holding something. "Call you back," I told Mo. Griffin looked older in daylight, but steadier than at O'Malley's. He held out a leather-bound journal. "Found this in my attic," he said as I let him in. "It's James's research journal." He was studying the impact of authentic connection in the digital age. I took the journal, my hands trembling slightly, like my company does now. Maybe some things are inherited after all. Griffin sat down. "Your mother asked about you yesterday." "I'm sure she did." "She's different now. Quieter." Said something about finally understanding what it feels like to be invisible. I opened the journal, reading a random page. "True power lies not in controlling narratives, but in living authentically despite them." "Karma's funny that way," I said. "Speaking of karma," Griffin pulled out his phone, showing me a social media post. Laura in a classroom looking genuinely happy for the first time I could remember. Sometimes losing everything helps you find yourself. Is this the part where you tell me revenge wasn't worth it? No. He stood up, walking to my wall of business awards. This is the part where I tell you James would have understood. He believed in burning down false structures to build true ones. My phone buzzed, a text from my mother. "The apartment feels empty, like my life without you." "She's trying," Griffin said, reading over my shoulder. "Too late." "Is it?" He picked up the photo of James. "You won revenge, got everything you wanted. Why do you still look haunted?" Before I could answer, another text came through. From Laura. "My students actually want to learn. No one cares about my publications or titles. It's freeing." I sat down heavily. I wanted them to hurt like I hurt, to feel powerless like I did. And now? Now I realize power was never the point. I looked at James's journal. Connection was, truth was, everything I built my company on, authentic relationships, genuine growth, I denied myself in pursuit of revenge. Griffin smiled slightly. "Your father wrote something similar. Page 42. I flipped to it. Revenge is power's shadow. True strength lies in choosing connection when disconnection would be easier." My phone buzzed again. Mother. "I found an old photo of James today. You have his smile when you're truly happy. I haven't seen that smile in so long." "What are you thinking?" Griffin asked. I picked up my phone, then put it down, picked it up again. "I'm thinking..." I looked at James's photo, at his kind eyes so like my own. "I'm thinking maybe it's time to build something new, something true." I texted my mother back. Coffee tomorrow? Just us. Her response was immediate. Yes, please. It won't be easy, Griffin warned. Neither was revenge. I looked at Laura's classroom photo again. But maybe that's not the legacy I want to leave. Not James's legacy. I texted Laura. Your students are lucky. You finally found your real path. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up my company's homepage, and began typing a new blog post. On authenticity, truth, and the courage to connect. Griffin read over my shoulder. Going public with your story? All of it. The revenge, the truth, the cost of lies, the price of authenticity? I smiled. James studied digital connection. Let's see if his daughter can put it into practice. My phone buzzed one last time. Mo, ready to actually change lives instead of just getting even? I looked at James's journal, at my mother's text, at Laura's genuine smile in that classroom. Yes, I typed back, time to build something real. Because in the end, karma wasn't about revenge. It was about truth finding its way to the surface, about authentic connections replacing false ones, about building something meaningful from the ashes of what we burned down. And maybe, just maybe, that was the greatest revenge of all.